Right now, as you are watching this, a plant is growing in sidewalk cracks and driveways across all 50 states in America. It is pushing through gravel parking lots, spreading across neglected garden beds, and thriving in the brutal heat of midsummer when everything else has withered and died. You have walked past it 1,000 times. You have probably pulled it out of your yard and thrown it in the trash. You might have even sprayed it with herbicide. In doing so, you poisoned what science now confirms may be one of the single most nutritious plants growing on this continent. The United States Department of Agriculture classifies it as a noxious weed. Homeowners across the country wage chemical warfare against it every summer. Farmers rip it out by the handful and curse its name. Meanwhile, across the ocean, across borders, across cultures spanning 4,000 years of recorded human history, the rest of the world has been eating it. They have been putting it in salads, braising it with pork, tossing it with feta and tomatoes, and feeding it to their children. They have been doing this since before the Roman Empire existed. This is the story of Purslane, the most nutritious plant in America that we poison and throw away. Let's start with what Purslane actually is, because chances are you've seen it and never known its name. It is a low-growing succulent with thick, reddish stems that spread outward along the ground, branching in every direction. Its leaves are small, fleshy, and paddle-shaped, with a waxy sheen that makes them look almost artificial, like tiny jade plant leaves scattered across the dirt. It does not grow tall, and it does not have showy flowers. It hugs the earth, creeping through cracks in concrete, colonizing the edges of garden beds, and thriving in the disturbed, compacted, nutrient-poor soil that would kill almost anything else. And it grows everywhere, not just in warm climates, not just in certain regions. Purslane has been documented in all 50 United States. From the scorching deserts of Arizona to the humid summers of Florida to the short growing seasons of Minnesota, this plant shows up uninvited and refuses to leave, which is precisely why multiple states, including Florida, have officially classified it as a noxious weed, a designation that essentially tells landowners to destroy it on site. Purslane is hardy and ubiquitous. But here is the thing about that classification. In Mexico, this same plant is called verdolaga, and it is a staple vegetable braised with pork in one of the country's most beloved traditional dishes. In France, it is called pourpier, and it appears in fine dining restaurants and farmers markets alike. In the Middle East, it is known as bakla, and it has been part of daily cuisine for longer than anyone can trace. In Greece, in Turkey, in China, in India, in every one of these countries, purslane is sold in markets, cooked in home kitchens, and eaten as a normal, unremarkable part of the diet. The same plant, the same species. The only thing that changes is whether the culture looking at it sees food or garbage. So how did we get here? How did a plant that humanity cultivated and consumed for 4 millennia become something Americans spray with Roundup? The history of purslane is older than most of us can comprehend. Archaeological evidence shows purslane seeds have been found at Mediterranean sites dating to the 7th century BC. That means people were growing and eating this plant nearly 3,000 years ago, but the cultivation almost certainly stretches back further. Historians and botanists estimate that purslane has been deliberately grown as a food crop for over 4,000 years, making it one of the oldest cultivated vegetables in human history, ancient and enduring. Theophrastus, the Greek philosopher often called the father of botany, listed purslane in the 4th century BC as a standard summer pot herb, as ordinary and expected as basil or oregano would be today. It was not exotic. It was not a survival food. It was just what people ate in the summer. The Roman Empire consumed it widely. It traveled with armies, grew in gardens, and appeared on tables across the ancient Mediterranean world. Pliny the Elder, the great Roman naturalist, went even further. Beyond recommending it as food, he claimed that wearing purslane as an amulet would expel all evil, which tells you something about how highly regarded this plant was. It was not just nutrition, it was practically sacred. and it reached North America long before European colonizers did. Indigenous peoples on this continent knew purslane and used it before Columbus ever set sail. This was not some foreign invader, it was already here. Humanity ate this plant across multiple continents, across thousands of years, across dozens of civilizations. And then, at some point in modern American history, we collectively decided it was garbage. We looked at one of the most ancient, widespread, and reliable food plants on Earth, and we called it a weed. Now let's talk about what we're actually destroying when we rip purslane out of the ground, because this is where the story goes from historically interesting to genuinely outrageous. Purslane has the highest omega-3 fatty acid content of any leafy green vegetable on the planet. That is not an exaggeration. That is not a loose claim from some health food blog. That is a documented, peer-reviewed, repeatedly confirmed scientific fact. A 100-gram serving of purslane, roughly 3.5 ounces, about a large handful, contains between 300 and 400 milligrams of alpha-linolenic acid, the plant-based omega-3 fatty acid that your body needs and that most Americans are desperately deficient in. To put that in perspective, that is 5 times more omega-3 than spinach. 5 times. And spinach is the green vegetable that most people think of as the nutritional gold standard. Purslane makes it look ordinary, but omega-3s are just the beginning. That same 3.5-ounce serving of purslane fulfills 81% of your daily vitamin requirements. Its vitamin A levels far surpass those of broccoli, tomatoes, and lettuce, vegetables that Americans spend billions of dollars a year to grow, transport, refrigerate, and purchase. It contains 7 times more vitamin E than spinach. It is rich in vitamin C, the immune-supporting antioxidant. It delivers significant amounts of calcium, iron, magnesium, and potassium, minerals that many Americans supplement with pills because their diets do not provide enough. It is loaded with glutathione and other antioxidants that protect cells from oxidative damage. And it does all of this at extremely low calorie counts, making it one of the most nutrient-dense foods per calorie that exists in nature. These are not fringe claims. This nutritional profile has been confirmed by research published in the Journal of the American College of Nutrition and in the Scientific World Journal. The science is not ambiguous. Purslane is, by multiple measurable metrics, one of the most nutritious plants growing on American soil, and we spray it with poison. But the nutritional content alone isn't what makes this story so maddening. What makes it truly absurd is how purslane grows. Or more accurately, how it grows itself with absolutely no help from anyone. Purslane is a succulent. Its thick, fleshy leaves store water the way a camel stores fat as insurance against drought. This means it thrives in conditions that would kill lettuce, spinach, kale, and virtually every other leafy green that Americans spend money and resources cultivating. It doesn't need irrigation. In most climates across the United States, purslane survives and produces abundant harvests on nothing but whatever rain happens to fall. While your lettuce wilts in the July heat and your spinach bolts into bitter, inedible stalks, purslane is spreading across the ground, getting fatter and more productive by the day. It doesn't need fertilizer. In fact, and this is almost comically perfect, purslane actually grows better in poor, nutrient-depleted soil. The soil you'd throw away, the compacted dirt next to your driveway, the gravel strip between the sidewalk and the street. That's purslane's preferred real estate. It doesn't need weeding because it outcompetes the other plants. It doesn't need pest management because very few insects bother with it. It goes from seed to harvestable greens in 6 to 8 weeks, which means you can be eating it less than 2 months after it appears. And when you cut it back, it regrows. You harvest it and it comes back, giving you continuous fresh greens throughout the entire summer growing season. In optimized growing conditions, purslane can yield up to 2 kilograms per square meter. That's over 4 pounds of fresh, nutrient-dense greens from a space the size of a card table. Agricultural researchers who have studied its productivity have calculated that a single modest patch of purslane can realistically provide enough greens to feed a family of 4 throughout the growing season. No tractor, no irrigation system, no fertilizer, no pesticide, no weeding, no effort. It just grows. And while Americans have been busy ignoring and destroying this plant, science has been quietly building a case that purslane may be far more than just nutritious. It may be genuinely medicinal. A 2024 systematic review published in the International Journal of Molecular Sciences, one of the most rigorous examinations of purslane's health effects ever conducted, confirmed that purslane demonstrates significant ability to reduce inflammation and oxidative stress, particularly in the context of diabetes. The review found that purslane consumption lowers key inflammatory markers, including interleukin-6, tumor necrosis factor alpha, and C-reactive protein. These are not obscure lab measurements. These are the same markers that doctors test for when assessing cardiovascular risk, chronic inflammation, and metabolic disease, conditions that collectively affect over 100 million Americans. Meta-analyses, which combine data from multiple studies to reach more powerful conclusions, have shown that purslane consumption significantly reduces fasting blood glucose levels. It lowers total cholesterol. It reduces triglycerides. It brings down LDL cholesterol, the so-called bad cholesterol that clogs arteries and causes heart attacks. And it raises HDL cholesterol, the protective kind that your cardiologist wants to see go up. A double-blind, placebo-controlled clinical trial, the gold standard of medical research, published in the Journal of Medicinal Food, confirmed that purslane provides measurable benefits for glucose homeostasis in adults with type 2 diabetes. This is not folk medicine. This is not a grandmother's remedy dressed up in modern language. This is rigorous, controlled, peer-reviewed science telling us that the plant growing in our driveways may help address the chronic diseases that are bankrupting our healthcare system. Researchers are now studying purslane as an anti-inflammatory agent, an anti-hyperglycemic agent, a neuroprotective compound, and an immunomodulatory substance. The academic literature increasingly refers to it not as a weed to be eliminated, but as a potential new crop, a food to be deliberately cultivated and integrated into modern agriculture and medicine. And this is where the cultural irony becomes almost too much to bear. Walk into a market in Greece and you'll find purslane sold alongside tomatoes and cucumbers, as ordinary as parsley. In Turkey, it's a summer staple that appears in salads, in pastries, in stews. In Mexico City, verdolaga con puerco, purslane braised with pork in a rich tomatillo sauce, is a beloved classic, the kind of dish that grandmothers make and families fight over at Sunday dinner. In China, it's been used in both cooking and traditional medicine for centuries. In India, it appears in curries and stir-fries across multiple regional cuisines. These are not obscure food traditions. These are mainstream culinary cultures representing billions of people who look at the same plant Americans call a pest and see dinner. Greek glystrita salad, purslane tossed with ripe tomatoes, crumbled feta, olive oil, and a squeeze of lemon, is as quintessentially Greek as a gyro. It's a summer tradition, eaten on terraces overlooking the Aegean, and it's made from a plant that in America would be doused in chemicals and ripped out of the ground. The flavor of purslane, for those who have never tried it, is distinctive and genuinely appealing. Raw, it tastes lemony and slightly peppery, with a satisfying crunch from those water-filled succulent leaves. It has a brightness that works beautifully in salads, a tanginess that complements rich meats and fatty cheeses. Cooked, it transforms. In soups and stews, purslane becomes mucilaginous. It develops a natural thickness similar to okra that enriches broths and binds sauces. It's a natural thickener that also happens to be packed with omega-3 fatty acids and antioxidants. American chefs, to their credit, are beginning to catch on. Purslane has started appearing on farm-to-table menus and fine dining plates across the country, presented as a rediscovered heirloom ingredient, which is a polite way of saying that restaurants are now charging $16 for a salad made from a plant that's growing for free in their parking lot. Now there are a couple of things worth knowing if you are going to go out and start eating the purslane in your yard, and you should. First, like spinach, purslane contains oxalic acid, sometimes referred to as oxalates. For most people, this is completely harmless, but individuals who are prone to kidney stones should moderate their intake, just as they would with spinach, beet greens, or rhubarb. It is not a reason to avoid purslane. It is just a reason to eat reasonable amounts if you have a specific medical history. Second, and this is more important from a safety standpoint, purslane has a look-alike that you must be able to distinguish. Spurge, a common garden weed that also grows low to the ground, can superficially resemble purslane. The identification is simple and foolproof. Break a stem. If the sap is clear, it is purslane and it is safe to eat. If the sap is milky white, it is spurge and you should leave it alone. Clear sap means purslane. Milky sap means stop. That is the entire identification challenge, and it takes about 2 seconds to confirm. So let's step back and look at the full picture of what we are dealing with here. The most nutritious leafy green on the planet, confirmed by peer-reviewed research. The highest omega-3 content of any green vegetable ever tested. Vitamin levels that surpass the most popular and expensive produce in American grocery stores. Demonstrated medicinal properties supported by clinical trials and systematic reviews. A plant that requires no irrigation, no fertilizer, no pesticides, no weeding, no care of any kind. A plant that actively prefers poor soil and harsh conditions. A plant that grows itself, regrows after harvest, and produces enough food from a small patch to feed a family of 4 through an entire growing season. A plant that has been cultivated and eaten by human civilizations for over 4,000 years. A plant that billions of people around the world eat regularly today as a normal and beloved part of their cuisine. And in the United States of America, we classify it as a noxious weed. We spend billions of dollars on herbicides to eradicate it from our lawns and gardens. We rip it out, bag it up, and send it to the landfill. Then we drive to the pharmacy and spend more money on omega-3 supplements made in factories from fish oil shipped across the ocean. We complain about rising food prices while poisoning free food that grows in our yards without being asked. We lament the cost and environmental destruction of industrial agriculture while destroying a crop that needs no industry and causes no destruction. We worry about food deserts in low-income neighborhoods while waging war on a plant that grows abundantly in exactly those environments, in cracked pavement, in empty lots, in the marginal spaces that conventional agriculture has abandoned. Maybe the real question here has never been, how do we kill this weed? Maybe the question we should have been asking, the question that 4,000 years of human history already answered, is far simpler and far more uncomfortable. Why did we ever stop eating it? The answer probably has something to do with lawns and aesthetics and the peculiar American obsession with monoculture grass that you cannot eat, that requires constant watering, constant mowing, constant chemical treatment, and that provides exactly zero nutritional value to anyone. We replaced food with decoration and called it progress. We took a plant that feeds people for free and declared it an enemy of the landscape. And every summer, purslane comes back anyway. It pushes through our concrete. It ignores our herbicides. It spreads across our neglected lots and abandoned gardens. It has been doing this for thousands of years, patiently waiting for us to remember what every other civilization on Earth already knows. It is not a weed. It never was. It is dinner.